All right, we are live. I'm just going to get everything set up here, guys. Again, bear with me. The tech is always a bit of a challenge, but I think I've got everything figured out. And it should be working now. So, I'm excited to test all this new stuff out. So it is an impromptu live, obviously, as all my lives seem to be. But you know, it's one of those things where now I just bought a whole bunch of new stuff, like computer, everything. So, same echo, eh? How about now? Is it good? There is a little echo. Okay, I'm going to mess with that a bit. I thought I got that fixed. It could just be the distance. Okay, yeah, it's just me, my distance to the mic. Okay, guys, let me just get this chat hooked up so that everyone can see the chat, and then we're going to get started. Hold off on the questions for now. I'm going to kind of start with a little bit of a topic like I always do, and then we can get into the questions. If you slam me with the questions now, then it's going to be a problem. So you got to hold off. So let me just get the chat up so everyone can see the chat so we can all see it together. Because before that was always a bit of a problem. And then once we've got the chat hooked up, we'll be underway. Okay, so get that in there. Yeah, I got a whole new computer, a new webcam, everything. So I'm hoping that this makes everybody's experience better, because it was time to up my game. It just wasn't good before. Can everybody see it? Can everybody see the chat now? Go into OBS and mute everything but your mic. That's a good idea. All right, let's go in there and see. Studio, no, that's wrong. We don't want to go there. Settings, audio. Yeah, everything is disabled. Yep, everything is disabled. So you guys should only be hearing my mic. Good. Just that echo. Is it like horrible, like you guys can't hear me, or how's this? How's this? Is the volume good now, guys? We can turn that down a little bit if that helps. Hey guys, Jake, how you doing, buddy? Still an echo. Echo is bad. Not bad, getting better. Man, you guys are all over the place. How about now? I got this. This is supposed to be the best mic on the market. It's supposed to be the best mic. Unbelievable. Tech, man, what do you do? I was told that there's no better mic for live streaming than this. All right, you were lied to. It would seem to be the case. This is like, what is this called? I don't even know. It's pretty bad. Better on the phone. Oh, no. Okay. How about I change the setting on the mic? I'm going to go to... All right. How's that, guys? Very bad. It's a Yeti mic. Yeah, it's a Yeti mic. Exactly. Wasn't cheap. Is that working, guys? I don't want to get started until you guys can hear me clearly, because I don't want to be echoing all over the place. So maybe you have a tab at the live stream. No, everything's muted. Jesus Christ. I thought I had the sound figured out. I watched it all back and it looked good. All right. Well, I'm going to go forward. And if you guys really can't hear, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to settings. Sounds like I'm on a stage. Wonderful. Man, that's frustrating. Because I thought I had gone through and I fixed everything. Default. Mic. Okay. All right. How's that? Is it better now? Because I changed a little setting here. Turn off vocalization. Where are my backup singers? Man, you guys are brutal. All right. You know what? Let me try this. See if this works. Same. Keep talking. All right. Okay, guys. You know what? I'm just going to get going. And unless you guys tell me that I'm completely unintelligible, I'm going to go back to the drawing board and I'm going to try and figure out why we're echoing. But I'm hoping that this is good. Like the whole purpose of this, it's tolerable. Jesus Christ. This bothers my sense of perfectionism. Yeah, I'm not an IT guy, that's for sure. I was playing with this thing for an hour. Can we have better sound? Oh my God. Turning down? Yeah, I'll try. How about this? Maybe that works. Okay. I'll look on the back here. There's gain. There's all sorts of buttons that I'm not quite sure about. Sounds like I have two mics on. All right. Okay. I'm just going to go, guys. Tell me to stop if it's horrible. No, the computer mic is not on, Real Malwa, man. I got that part right. Okay. Man, oh, man. Okay. So, what I would... Oh, I see what the problem is here. The Razer webcam is on. How's about that? There you go. I think the webcam has its own internal mic. And I think it works there. Okay. Perfect. There we go. It was the webcam. Unbelievable. All these little things, eh, guys? Look at that. I am an IT guy now. All right. So, I mean, I've only wasted, I don't even know how many minutes. So, I'm in my new office up at Shield K9. I'm in my office up here at Shield K9. So everything, we're trying everything now, you know, just trying to fix everything and, you know, make everything a little bit more professional for you guys. And the reason I did that, it's not so much for the YouTube. It's more because, look, some of you guys now are you know, you paid me basically. You're on my online training. And, you know, I know that along with that comes an obligation to somewhat improve the production quality. Of course, the primary focus is still on the training quality. We want the highest training quality possible. So, you know, that is my primary focus in everything that I do. Now that we've got all the audio and video figured out for now, until the next disaster, what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of start and talk about a topic I've been thinking a little bit about. So I noticed that a lot of dog trainers, they kind of have like a thing, you know, they're like, I'm an e-collar trainer. I'm a protection trainer. I'm a police dog trainer. I'm a competition obedience trainer, and so on and so forth. And it seems like everybody has a thing. And, you know, I was thinking, what is my thing? Because I've never looked at dog training as a one-dimensional thing. I've never said, you know, this is the only thing I'm interested in dog training, whether that's competition work, behavior work, protection, whatever else, right? Like everybody seems to have like a little niche that they slot themselves into. And I understand, look, if there's one aspect of dog training that's completely exciting for you, you know, I get it. But for me as a dog trainer, I think a really important part of what I do and why we have the success that we have here at Shield K9, right? Where we have people that are in the working dog world. We have police canine handlers. We've got, you know, competition obedience people. We've got IGP people. We've got, you know, regular pet people, like most of you guys are regular pet people. You know, I got people with small little chihuahuas that watch. And I think the reason why is because we're so well-rounded. And I've really made it my business to be well-rounded as a trainer, to know how to get in a bite suit, to know how to do sleeve work, to know how to take a dog that has, you know, really, bad food aggression and fix it, to know how to make your pet dog not pull you on. Everything, right? Like, it's really important. Now, do I know everything in dog training? Of course not. But, you know, everything from competition obedience to e-collar training, and not just regular e-collar training like what most people are able to do, but very high level work. You know, I've made it my business to know, and I found that every little piece of knowledge, whether it's what I've learned being in the bite suit, what I've learned dealing with a lot of the behavioral cases that we deal with, what I've learned with doing competition obedience and competing in IGP, all these things, you know, and more come into play. So as a dog trainer, I'm always trying to do more and be more and know more. But the problem is I haven't niched myself yet. Nobody goes and says, oh yeah, that's the e-collar guy, or that's the police dog guy. I'm not a guy of something yet. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that I'll never be a guy of some specific thing. I'm just saying, you know, that it's I've just noticed that in the dog world, everybody kind of has that little niche. And I never saw the purpose in it. Now, that being said, it's kind of like the assumption is because you don't have a niche, you're not particularly good at anything. And I would say that that's really incorrect. I think, you know, the competition obedience training that I do is really very high level. The behavior work, I think, and I'm going to say this honestly, guys, the pet training and the behavior training that we do, for sure in Canada, we're in like the top level. Like I don't think there's really anybody else that comes close to us. But I don't want to just be in the pet training space or in the behavior training space. Even though I'm really good at it, it's not the only thing that I'm interested in, you know? And I think we can stand with anybody when it comes to the suit work, when it comes to bite work, police dog training, any of that kind of stuff. You know, I'm very confident that, you know, we're in that place. So it's an interesting thing. And I was like, what would I say I am? Should I even say I'm something? Because look, if you can make yourself into a specific guy, like I'm the e-collar guy, then all of a sudden people are going to have you out for like e-collar training seminars and stuff. Now, I could do an e-collar training seminar. I could do a bite work seminar. I could do a behavior training seminar, you know, and it's my business to be able to do that. I couldn't imagine only knowing one type of dog training. And perhaps that's why our channel is interesting for people. You know, a lot of you guys got attracted to through the YouTube channel. Some of you guys maybe train with us in person. But, you know, being well-rounded as a dog trainer for me, I couldn't imagine it any other way. But I'm thinking, man, I think I should niche up at some point. I'm not sure what. I'm happy to take your suggestions. Whatever you guys think I should niche up in, maybe I'll consider it. You know, if I had to pick one discipline, if I looked at dog training and I separated it into 4 categories: behavior training, obedience training, protection training, and tracking, I'd probably, if someone put a gun to my head and say, look, you can't do anything other than this for the rest of your dog training life, I'd probably say obedience training is the most interesting for me at this point. I like all of those things, and I think I'm pretty good at all those things, but the the obedience training for me is super interesting. But again, who wants to be one-dimensional? You want to be able to do everything and do it really at a very high level, in my opinion anyways. So, let's see here, guys. I'm going through the chat right now. Interesting. How can I make my Belgian Malinois bark? Because he doesn't like to bark. He's scared. I'm not quite sure what you mean. If you're saying in relation to him being a protection dog, you don't make him bark. And if he's scared, you probably don't want him to be barking. right? I never want dogs doing protection when they're in a state of insecurity and fear, because that's what leads to all sorts of negative side effects. If you have a dog who's extremely fearful and they're not geared towards doing protection work, then you probably shouldn't be doing it with them. But of course, I don't see your dog, so it's hard to say. Let's see here. Caitlin. Introducing a new dog to the Elite Off-Leash Obedience Program. 6-month Malinois German Shepherd mix. She's very sensitive to the prong. Can it be done on a flat? You know, that's a good question, because a lot of people have this idea that, you know, okay, my dog's really sensitive with X, therefore I should avoid it. When I have a dog that's really sensitive with X, I think, oh, I need to embrace that. Because I don't like dogs to be excessively sensitive and overreacting to certain things. What I do is I actually want to habitualize the dog to the thing. So whether it's a prong collar or an e-collar, if I get a dog in that's like super weirded out by the e-collar, doesn't like, guess what? I start using the e-collar for every behavior on an extremely low level, and then countering it, because if you apply pressure to a dog, whether it's with a prong collar, an e-collar, or whatever else, and you see that the dog is really showing like a very kind of suppressed body language, then what you need to do is you really need to make sure that you're getting into the pressure fast, or sorry, you're getting into the pressure gradually, out of the pressure really fast, and breaking to a reward. And if you're not breaking to a reward, you're really going to just create a really shut down looking dog. So you really want to keep the dog in that kind of, okay, this is a little bit tough, I'm a little bit worried, but when I come through this, something good happens. Not only the release of the pressure, but the reward. So I hope that helps you. Now, I would do something like putting the pinch collar on a dead ring. So if I see a dog who's super, super sensitive, I say, okay, well, I don't need the pinch collar to be on the live ring. So if you have a pinch collar, it's got 2 of those rings, put the leash through both the rings, and then it stops becoming tight. And you're going to notice that the dog is a lot less sensitive to it. Okay. Let's see here, guys. What else you got? And some of you guys are fun. Have you ever had a kennel master? A kennel? You mean the guy who's in charge of my kennel, like a kennel manager? I've had multiple kennel managers. My current kennel manager is named Lindsay, and she's pretty damn good at her job. So yes, I've had many. I like the name Kennel Master. It sounds kind of cool, doesn't it? It's commonly thought, Miles or Nick, don't niche up. I hear you, brother. You know, I was just kind of joking when I said that, because like everybody in the dog training space on social media seems to have like a niche where they don't go outside of their little niche. And I'm like, you know, that's interesting, because I'm not really like that. It's commonly thought that a jack of all trades is a master of none, but in fact, a jack of one trade is a connector of none. Your ability to cross-apply skills sets you apart. You know, Miles, I really believe that. Like, I don't think I'd be half the trainer I was when it comes to dealing with behavioral issues if I didn't know protection through and through. Like, not just taking bites, but really understanding the concepts behind, you know, creating aggression in a dog, creating arousal in a dog, and then channeling it into specific behaviors. When you understand how the dog works on that level, fixing behavioral problems becomes really, really easy. You know, when you really understand how to make, you know, top level obedience, you know, fixing a pet behavioral issue becomes really, really easy. So, you know, there's so much cross application across the disciplines, whether it's a tracking problem, a grip problem, and bite work. I really do. Like, I just couldn't imagine doing it like any other way. Georgie, I have a Doberman that 15 months old, and I have tried so much to stop her from barking. She's just reactive. Take my reactive dog course. It'll help you. Is the Dogtra e-collar good? Well, the Dogtra is good. The question is, are you good enough to use it? Right? I get this all the time, right, guys? Like, I'll give you guys an example. So I posted a video recently. Let me see if I can find this video. I'm going to pull this video up, and I want you guys to look at this video. And, you know, it's funny. It's one of those videos where I posted it, and I knew when I posted it, there'd be a lot of comments about, there's the only reason that this is here. Hold on a second. So some of you guys may have caught this video, right? Now, this is a dog that was brought to us for food. Well, he was brought to us for a variety of reasons. No obedience, food aggression, all that type of stuff. And this is how he came, and this is what he was like with food, right? Now, I want you to see what he's like now. And it's funny because as I'm talking to you guys, he's literally going home with his owners right now. They're in the next room, and they're doing their return session, right? So this is pretty normal stuff. Like, there's nothing abnormal about this. I know it's like an exciting kind of like video with the teeth and all that stuff, but there's nothing particularly abnormal about this. We've done this on a regular basis. Again, I'm just really terrible with catching the befores, right? So we did this video, and oh crap, you guys can't see it. Let's see here. Okay. Sorry, guys. All right, we're going to do that again. My mistake. All right, so this is the dog. His name's Leo, by the way. And he was brought to us for food aggression, for behavioral issues in general, and lack of obedience. He ran away from his owners, that kind of stuff. You're typical, okay? So this is him after, a couple days ago, we shot this little video of him. He's eating his raw meat. He's controlling himself, so on and so forth. And I posted this video, because obviously it's good promo, but at the same time, I just want people to understand what's possible. And you'll notice that the reason why we do it in the kennel, I could have easily taken the dog out of the kennel and, done it out of the kennel, and the behavior would be less bad, right? So the reason I did, if you guys know anything about training dogs, you know that they're very situational. So if you've got the aggressive behavior behind the kennel, it's more likely that he's going to be at his worst in here, right? So if I take him out in the room, he'll be a lot less food aggressive. So the reason why we did it was, the reason why I did it in the kennel was to show you that even at the very base of where the behavior is at its worst, when he's in the kennel and he's behind the gate, you can fix it even there with the right training approach. So it's really important, guys, to understand this. So when I posted this, a lot of people immediately starts commenting and they say, oh, it's because of the e-collar. I see an e-collar on the dog. He's being good because of the e-collar. Somebody even commented, oh, a couple high-level corrections and that problem's fixed. Now, no. God, no. Any one of you guys that thinks that's a good idea, please take a video, stand in front of a dog who's food aggressive, and light him up on an e-collar, and see what happens. It's not going to go well. It's going to go horrible. So, same thing with people, I know it's a troll guy, but there's actually people that do believe that. And there are many people that comment on my social media that say things like that. Whenever we show a dog who is misbehaving and then we show a dog that is behaving, it's always, oh, it's because of the e-collar, right? It's like, really? You think that? You think if I didn't take that e-collar off the dog that he wouldn't be listening without the e-collar? You don't really understand very much about training. If you think that you can slap an e-collar on a dog and do all sorts of things, whether it's behavioral, behavior adjustment or obedience training, you got another thing coming. You really need to know what you're doing with that collar in order to maximize your results. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Right? They see the e-collar and they just assume everything that ever happened to the dog is a function of the e-collar. And it's like, no, it is not. Now, somebody asked me, how do you fix a problem like that? The way that you fix a problem like that, guys, is respect. Okay? What almost every behavioral problem in a dog, it comes down to respect. Right? Like, almost every one of them, whether it's being reactive, whether it's resource guarding, a lot of them are respect-based problems. The dog simply does not respect you, right? And the dog has no habit of obedience around you. There's so many people, oh, my dog loves me, but he doesn't listen. Well, I don't think he loves you all that much, right? So it's really important to understand that, you know, a complete relationship with your dog is essential if you want to prevent or remove behavioral problems like the resource guarding. Okay. And if you lose that, like if let's say the owners take them home and they don't do anything we tell them to do, will that behavior come back? Absolutely it will. Absolutely. Any behavior will crop up, especially behavior like resource guarding, which generally has a genetic predisposition attached to it. Okay. Oh no, I'm saying genetic predisposition, but guess what? Most behaviors do have a genetic. I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to show you guys something that you wouldn't normally see on my, it's not a publicly available video. So I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to show you guys something. So just give me a sec. I'm going to show you a puppy that's doing the exact same thing. Let me just go and find this video because people don't believe me. Oh, it's because his owners didn't socialize him when he was a baby and they didn't put their hands in his food and blah, blah, blah. And if you do this and you do that, everyone's always commenting, right? And it's like, look, you've had 2 dogs in your life. Calm down. You haven't really fixed this problem in any real way. I've fixed this problem in many, many dogs. I've seen this problem in many, many dogs. I've owned dogs that had this problem. I'm intimately familiar with this problem. 100% there's a genetic component attached to it. So I'm going to show you guys a puppy that's doing it because you'll see this right from day one. I'll know the puppies that are going to resource guard because in certain breedings, it's definitely more prevalent. So let me just find this. And it's a very cute puppy too. Where is that video? Sorry guys, just going through all of this stuff. Yeah, so it's just important to understand that when you're dealing with this stuff, simply zapping a dog with an e-collar, it's not going to get you anywhere. You're just going to end up with a dog that looks like you trained him with a 2x4 at best. And at worst, you're going to end up with a dog that, will bite you, right? People don't understand this. So let me pull this up now. Okay. I'm going to pull this across here. Sorry, guys. Me and tech. All right. So there you go. So this puppy, okay, this is over a bone. All right. I mean, it's cute because he's little. All right. But just so you guys can see, right, what kind of behavior you see. He looks like he's about 3 months at this age. All right. And, this is a behavior that will escalate if you leave it, right? Like if you leave it and if you do the wrong thing. So what most people would do with this is exactly what this guy's doing. This is what Steven's doing this to kind of amp up the puppy for the sake of the video, obviously, because I wanted to show kind of what he was like, right? This kind of stuff is what a lot of people do. And if you take our puppy course, by the way, you will have complete access to this video. And I'm going to talk about how you start fixing this problem and preventing this problem in puppies from a very young age. So you have to understand, guys, that with a lot of this stuff, you really got to understand the behavior in order to, fix this issue. Because a lot of people, whether it's resource guarding, reactivity, stuff like that, a lot of people amp the problem up when they're actually trying to fix it. And that's why you have to really understand, this concept is the e-collar is not going to solve your problems. The prong collar is not going to, there's no magic. Okay. You have to understand the fundamental concepts. That's why I say when you train with me, you have to watch those videos I did on how dogs think and how to communicate with a dog. Those 2 videos are a staple. Let me see here. Sorry, guys. I kind of got going here. Has aggression. When will it not drop items in its mouth? Object from mouth. Well, there you go. Exactly. So this person's asking me, it kind of, obviously English is a second language. So look, I always say this to people that write in broken English and clearly English is a second language for them. I can't speak a second language. I can read Arabic though, believe it or not. But I don't understand what I'm reading. But that's another story altogether. But anyways, point being, I can't speak another language. So I'm not trying to make fun of you when I read your broken English. I'm just trying to understand so everybody else can say it. Has aggression. When will it not? Dog has aggression when it will not drop items in its mouth. It has grown worse now. I try to grab the collar and get the object from the mouth, and the dog lunges and bites. Exactly what I was saying, right? That's what most people do. What you saw in that video, they try to kind of steal the object from the dog, right? And it's like, no, you cannot do that, right? You have to de-escalate the dog. You have to remove the conflict. And if you're going to get into conflict, I always say the rule of thumb is never lose. So sometimes I will say, okay, we're going to have a little conflict now. No problem. We'll have our conflict, but I'm always going to set myself up to win, right? So that's the fundamental key when you're training. Is there are times for sure that you must have conflict with the dog. I realize it's always conflict-free, force-free. I say, why? Sometimes there needs to be conflict. You know, I had an owner recently, they were telling me about their dog. He resource guards so bad that if they even walk like 10 feet away from him when he's eating, he'll leave the food, come and attack them. You think that that's not something where we need to go through a little conflict to get that problem fixed? I'm not saying that they need to be able to put their food in their hands in his food and rub them all over his body while he's eating. That's not the goal. But for him to take the behavior, and a lot of the time it starts at this level, at this age, as a puppy like this, it starts like this and it can escalate to that. And that's what people don't understand. A lot of people kind of ignore the problem, or they try to kind of throw hot dogs at the problem, so on and so forth. But you cannot do that exclusively, because it escalates and it gets to the point where, look, you got to lock him in a room to feed him because he will attack you. All right. Let me see here, guys. Sorry, guys. Some of your, I read some of your comments, but I can see it's not it's more like for the chat, so I won't read it. But how do I stop my puppy who is 4 months old eating random things from the floor? I tell him to leave it. He quickly eats it and runs. What does your leave it mean? You must say leave it and make it a consequence. For me, I like to use a quick collar correction. Just give him a little correction on the flat collar, and I make it a little bit of a conflict that he definitely seeks to avoid. Hey, that was unpleasant. I should probably leave it next time he tells me to leave it, right? Confidence seems to be your niche. No, man, I'm not all that confident. You know what I am with dog training that I realize a lot of other dog trainers aren't. And I'll say this, okay? And I think this is what hurts me and helps me, right? And maybe you won't see this so much with other dog trainers on social media anyways. I'm sure a lot of them will do it in private. I can't leave things alone. I can't leave things alone. I am constantly changing how I do things. I'm constantly messing with training techniques. I'm constantly trying different things from a positive angle, from the negative angle. I just can't help myself. I'm a tinkerer. I just constantly tinker with the training. Can I make it better? Can I make it faster? Is this more effective? Does this work better? Does this make the dog happier? Does this remove the behavior faster? And I'll actually show that process on YouTube. I'll give you guys an example. Now, I posted a video a long time ago. Let me see here if I can find that video. Let me pull this back. I'm going to find that video. I'm going to show you guys that video because it was a video I did on training high drive dogs to out. And the reason I posted this video is because I thought it was an interesting video, because I know a lot of people actually really struggle with this topic, okay? And I'm not talking about like your average pet dog. I would get dogs in from the Czech Republic back when I was buying a lot of dogs from the Czech Republic. And I would get these dogs in that were absolute machines, just complete drive machines. Super extreme, super like out of control, just drive. And of course, that's the way they were bred. So I developed a little thing that I would do for the really extreme cases where they were like, look, like, I'm not letting go of this ball. If you try to, give me a little leash correction, I'm going to come up the leash at you, or I'm just simply not going to let go. And I said, let me take one of the really bad cases where this dog is just so extreme in the drive, and let me show you guys kind of what I do. And I got a lot of flack for that video. I got a lot of flack because people are like, oh, it doesn't make any sense what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. And look, the video was for sure a little bit chaotic because I want you guys to watch, and I'm going to talk to you guys about it. I want you to understand, like for you guys, I really don't like hiding the training. I like to show you guys the whole process because everybody always just shows the nice clean picture at the end, right? So, oh, those damn ads. All right. Okay, guys. So, this is a dog, again, it's not like a dog that like I was doing a lot of training with. And it's funny because I shot this video. I actually had a guy, it was so funny. I had a guy, he actually downloaded this video and voiceovered it and like talked about all the problems with everything that I was doing and how the dog really wasn't that high drive. And he starts here and he goes, oh, the dog's looking away from Has. The dog is clearly avoiding Has and is disconnected from Has. Number one, the dog didn't know me well enough to avoid me at this point. Okay, he was in the kennel. We were pulling him out from time to time for training. He's only been here for a short period of time in this video. Now, the reason he looks in that direction is if any of you have videos of my training room, you know that all the sleeves and bite suits are on that side of the training room. So whenever we bring the dogs in through that door over there, what do? They immediately look at the bite suits, at the sleeves, because they can smell them. They know where they are, and that's what they want. So when you have a drive machine like this, that's all he ever wants. So anyways, that's why the dog was doing this. But anyway, so I said, let me show you guys how I do it. So you'll notice I have a ball here, and the ball is attached to a leash. And then the dog is back tied. And what I was doing was I was using the e-collar to make the dog let go of the ball. Now, a lot of people say, well, the dog's pulling. You shouldn't have asked him to out. Well, yes, he's pulling. What am I supposed to do? Wait till he stops pulling? He's never going to stop pulling. This dog would literally pull until he was probably dead. Like one of the highest ball drives I've ever seen. And it's funny. People are like, oh, he doesn't have that much ball drive. It's like, stop. I have bought so many dogs from Europe. I've owned so many dogs, and I've seen your dogs. The person those of you that are commenting, I've seen your dogs. Your dog doesn't have this level of ball drive. Oh, he doesn't have that much ball drive. No, he just is. Believe it or not, the training's working and he's not coming after me. That doesn't mean ball drive. A lot of people assume that because a dog is super reactive or a dog resource guards the ball or something like this, it's ball drive. No, it's just a dog has a lot of conflict around the ball. This dog just had tons and tons of drive. So basically, people are like, okay, well, this is wrong. He's pulling. You should wait until he's passive to make the out on the ball. The reason why I'm doing this is simply to stop the dog from spinning. So usually what'll happen, right, is, and you can see there, I'm doing kind of the e-collar for the trade there. And you can see the dog has such a possession, he just doesn't want to leave that ball. And his brain's like so focused on that ball, he won't even see the second ball, right? But that's okay. I'm still showing it to him and I'm going through it, right? This is the first time we've done it. I know what it's going to look like. This is what it looks like, right? The problem is so many people only show you guys with a clean dog. It's like if I took Gage out and I demonstrated everything I was ever talking about with Gage. There's a reason I don't do that. There's a reason I don't take my two personal dogs out, Gage and Dizzy, and show everything. Because it's pointless to do that, right? It never gets the message across. I'll show you with a dog that's at the same level of your dog, if not even worse, right? So, again, showing him the second ball, making the e-collar, right? And waiting until he's willing to take the trade. And I went through this with him. The first sessions with dogs like this really high drive dogs, it's always a dirty process. And that's what people don't get. It's not like clean and easy. And with dogs like this, like especially with this Malinois here, right? He was so extreme that he would bite you just to get the ball because he was just so crazy and high drive for the ball. So everything I'm doing is on purpose. The back tie, the second line, all that stuff, it's all on purpose. And I'm kind of feeling the dog out as I go and telling you why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I'm not So Papa Kilo puts, okay, why waste so much energy on trolls and critics? It's not about wasting energy. It's about explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it's really important because the trolls, what the trolls are, and what people that kind of say stuff like this are, is they're offering you, they're giving you the generic arguments against what it is that you're doing, right? But it's not enough to do it. You have to address these things. People have to understand why you're doing what you're doing and why maybe when somebody else, like let's say you go on Learberg and you buy a training course on there, everything looks so clean and easy. Well, yeah, it's clean and easy because the dog's a trained dog, right? So I wanted you guys to understand, right? Like why the understanding that the process isn't always clean. The process isn't always easy. Sometimes you'll try one thing, then go to another. You might have a plan going in. Sometimes your plan isn't the right plan for that specific dog. And that's what people don't understand. So I don't want you guys, when you're training your dog, right? I don't want you guys to get dissuaded because you say, well, Haz did it like that and it worked for Haz like that. Why isn't it working like that for me? Right? There's nothing wrong with reevaluating and say, okay, well, maybe with that specific dog, Haz was doing it this way because that dog was reacting better to this way. Maybe I need to do a little less of that and a little more of this and so on and so forth. Don't be afraid to tinker a little bit with behaviors, all right? To really make it clear for the dog what it is that you want. Some dogs need a little more of the stick. Some dogs need a little more of the carrot. It's important to understand these things. Don't you feel that treat training devalues you as a handler? Absolutely not, Sam. Why in God's name? That's as stupid as saying, why? That's as stupid as a treat trainer telling me I should never correct a dog. Why would I ignore an entire quadrant of learning for the dog? Why would I ignore a power, right? If I have a dog who's super motivated for food, why would I say I'm not going to use food because I have this personal feeling about it? No, that's crazy talk. I would never do that. If a dog likes food, I use food. If a dog likes ball, I use ball. If a dog likes praise, I use praise. There's no thing that I'm not going to do, but I don't do anything exclusively. We train across the spectrum, right? That's good training. Kevin Perry. Can I breed if my dog isn't AKC registered? A person I bought from passed away before doing registration and the original breeders are in check. Well, you can contact the original breeders and ask them to send you pink papers, but why would you breed an unregistered dog? And why is that dog worth breeding? Is that dog a top level working dog? Oh yeah, she's a top level. She's the best, blah, blah, blah. She's check. I've heard that a time or two, and then they show me a disturbingly average dog. You know how many dogs that I've gotten from Czech that I wouldn't breed with a 10-foot pole? All right? You guys have to, everybody's in such a hurry to breed. Look, you don't have Kevin, no offense. Who's Kevin? Who's Kevin in the dog world? What are you going to do, Kevin? You're going to sell your puppies for $600 on Craigslist? Everybody thinks, oh, I'll breed, I'm going to get rich, I'll make a bunch of money on the litter. Well, yeah, maybe in the first COVID lockdown, there was definitely, everybody was making money on breeding dogs. But now it's back to the way it was, right? You have to have a name to be able to sell puppies. And people don't realize this. People have to know you in order to buy your puppies. People don't just buy the puppies for the puppies. They buy the puppies for the name. Otherwise, you're selling your puppies for $500 on Craigslist, and then you're wondering why they end up in bad homes. Don't breed, Kevin, unless you have a real good reason to do it, right? Christian, my dog has a very good off-leash heel, but when other dogs passes, he leaves the heel position because he's a little bit scared. What should I do? I can't buy your course. Christian, number one, if your dog's leaving the heeling position because he's scared, he doesn't have a very good off-leash heel. All right? Part of your dog being well-trained is ability to withstand stress and remain in the position. So what I'm going to do, okay, is I'm going to really put a leash on my dog, number one, so that he can't run. And I'm going to block him from running out of the position. And what I'm going to do is when we go past another dog and he gets terrified and he tries to, let's say, run away, all I'm going to do is I'm going to block him with the leash. I'm going to keep him in the position and I'm going to praise him. Hey, buddy, it's okay. Good boy. Good job. And I'm going to say, look, you must stay next to me. But if you stay next to me, I'm going to keep you safe and I'm going to give you a reward. So I hope that helps. John Bibb, Ott Vitasha versus Logan House for Police K9. I mean, if I had to pick, Ivan breeds dogs. I think Ivan has dogs in everything, but I'd probably go with Logan House. I mean, I've had 2 dogs from him, and one of them definitely could have been a Police K9. The other one was too much for most any police department. But yeah, I mean, I think Mike puts out some really nice dogs. This is Mike Suttle, the owner of Logan House. Elite member, my dog walks really nice on 2 fingers, but will start to pull back when scared of an object or area. Would you keep leash pressure or correct him for pulling? Yeah, so if you have a dog who goes into like extreme fear and just flights, right? Like just goes to run. For sure, what you're going to do is you're going to give it a little bit of a pop, right? You guys still can't see the video? I thought you could. You should be able to. Anyways, yes, I will. That's when the dog loses its mind and basically goes into flight, for sure. If he runs into the end of the leash, I'll give it a little bit of a pop and I'll say, hey, dude, get off the lead. And I'll try and take his mind completely off whatever it is that's scaring him and say, no, you cannot run. You have to keep the leash loose. And I give him a job. Keep that leash loose. Don't freak out. And by giving him that simple job, just keep this leash loose, it can kind of actually help to take his mind off of everything, right? And help him calm down. With the fearful dogs, this type of training works even better because what happens is it gives them something to do with their crazy brain, right? Their brain is always telling, it's like a schizophrenic person. The brain's always telling them, you know, that thing's going to kill you. That person has bad intent. You know, that truck is really scary for whatever reason. You know, they're wired like that. And when you give them a job to do and it's super clear and super consistent and you hold them accountable to that job, it alleviates the fear. I can relax. I can calm down. I have a job. I have something to do. But you have to do it in a smart and consistent way. All right, guys. Just going through all the questions are coming thick and fast. Okay. When is the protection course out? Probably in the new year. I had to take I'm taking a little break from the courses just to kind of regroup because we pushed hard to get all these courses out. But the protection course is actually almost complete and it will be in the new year. The competition course is a work in progress. Can you take your protection dog to travel with you? Absolutely. Most of my clients do travel with their protection dogs. Can I breed dog if person I bought from... Oh, sorry. Ended up reading that again. Got a GSD 6 years ago. Never know how much I'd need to learn. Well, thanks, Jamie. I'm glad that you're appreciating the training. Have a bite history shelter pup. Early on, we battled because I didn't want... Sorry, guys. Is that still working? Yeah, okay. I didn't want him to win. Calm is better when he is escalated. Obedience is coming along, but mouths wrist when frustrated with new skill. I would suggest taking my course. You know, a lot of this type of stuff, what you're describing is kind of avoidance, right? Like, okay, you know, he's really bad, but now he's a little bit better, but, oh, he still does this and he still does that. For me, there's no mouthing my wrist. You know, like things like that is, it's unacceptable, right? A lot of people do this with dogs that have histories, is they kind of make a little bit excuse. And I'm not trying to come after you, but again, I'm telling it the way I see it, and the way I see it a lot around here is people get these dogs with a history or a shelter dog or whatever, and there's always reasons why the dog's doing X, Y, and Z. I don't care what happened to him in the past. Dogs live in the moment, and you need to live in the moment as well. This is the way it is now. You don't do these things anymore. This is what you do. And you set that out and you don't make it an option. You know, a lot of dogs, the option to not do what you've asked them to do, or the option to do something like bite the leash or bite you or growl at you or run away, these options, when you continue to allow them to be an option because you're afraid of the conflict that you're going to generate but from saying to the dog, you will no longer do this, that is constantly going to prevent you from going forward. There is no option. There's no option to run. There's no option to bite me. None of these things are options for you. The only option is to listen. And when you listen, good things happen. And that security, I always say, it's the exact same thing as a dog that has issues with being left loose in the house. So there's many dogs that have anxiety issues. And when you leave them loose in the house, they become more anxious. But when you put them in a crate that they can't escape, because that's the key, you will see in many cases the dog calms down because the inability to get out of the enclosure leaves them with no options. And when they don't have any options, they calm down. Now they don't have to make any more decisions. I'm in the crate. I can be awake or I can sleep. I can't escape from the crate. Now, if the dog can escape from the crate, the anxiety just increases. So with your obedience training, it has to be the same way, especially with an anxious dog. There's no option. You must do it like this, right? And it helps the dog stay calm and actually control themselves without kind of succumbing to the fight or flight instinct that they have in their brain. Okay, let's see here. Elite member. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. Faded Florida. My rescue of 4 years has bitten both my teens badly and killed another pet. She doesn't trust people. She's on alert 24/7. What am I doing wrong? Sounds like just about everything. Number one, you have to have a realistic outlook when you're dealing with dogs like this. Okay, so if you've bought, a shelter dog, if you've gone to, Barbados or Egypt and brought home a dog, I see this all the time. And some of those dogs, I always say, it's better you left that dog on the street because that's what he was bred to do. And that's where he will be at his best. In your home, it's going to be a nightmare for you. I'm not saying that's your case because I don't know your dog. Number one, you need to create a lot of structure. Number two, you need to stop setting your dog up to do these things because in every case where your dog did something wrong, I guarantee you that you screwed up in terms of the management of your dog. The way you managed your dog set your dog up for failure. So that's a really big thing. Sorry, guys. I'm just going over here. So structure, training, all these things are really important. All right, here, let's see. I would strongly, look, again, rotate the chat. It's upside down. Jesus, is it? Let's see here. Thanks for mentioning it. Let me see if I can rotate that chat. Unbelievable. Of course, it's not easy to rotate. All right. Sorry, guys. Just messing with the chat. And seeing how we can rotate it. Properties. Yeah, I wonder why it's doing that. That's weird. Defaults. Yeah, I don't know. I'll leave the chat for now. That's another thing to fix on the next live. I have a 10-month-old German Shepherd working line. When should we start to have some protective behavior? She won't bark at humans. Want to start to put her in protection, but afraid she'll fail. Well, not putting her in protection is a guarantee that she'll fail. Finding somebody that's able to actually look at it and tell you the truth about what your dog can and can't do, that's a big thing, right? Also, by the way, your dog's level of protection work is not, it's your dog's ability to bark at strangers has really no bearing on whether or not your dog can do protection work. What we want from a dog for protection work is we want drive and we want confidence. If your dog is missing one of those two things, the job becomes very difficult and sometimes impossible. Are issues, this is a good question, are issues like resource guarding, reactivity, or handler aggression more common in the very best working line German Shepherds? The kinds that are at the top levels of IGP. That's a good question. And I'm not sure because for sure you're going to see some of these traits in the high performance dogs because look, anytime you have a lot of something, there's going to be side effects. So sometimes you'll have a dog that's so extreme on the drive that you have a side effect that the dog resource guards because they have such a high value on whatever it is. And sometimes it's just that the dog has an issue, but everything that dog does is dialed up to level 100. So even a small issue becomes a really big issue, right? But now when I look at all the dogs that I've dealt with that have the resource guarding, that have the various behavioral problems, reactivity, all that stuff you see. I will say that there's definitely not a greater instance in working dogs of these problems. It's just generally more intense when it presents itself in a working dog, because working dogs are more intense in everything. So if I have, for instance, a reactivity, right? For sure, in your regular, 1-year-old pet German Shepherd, that reactivity is going to be maybe like a level 5 to 7 on average. Whereas, a high drive working dog is going to take that reactivity to a level 10. And it's going to be a lot more committed to being reactive. When are you having another litter? How are the Victor pups looking? I'm expecting a litter in 5 weeks, if all goes well. And the Victor pups are looking really good. Big, strong puppies. And excited to see how they develop. I do have a female left from that litter, if anybody wants. Is there such a thing as too much affection, like chilling on the couch? No, I don't think so. Now, look, I've run into some dogs where affection actually hurts the dog. Like, too much affection actually causes conflict with the dog. So you definitely have to be careful of that. And affection at the wrong time causes conflict as well with some dogs. But if you have a well-balanced dog, there's nothing wrong with providing affection whenever you like. I'm sure she lacks confidence, but she has very high drive and does great in bite work as play. Well, if she has good drive, then that's something. I always say, people tell me all the time about, oh, my dog has so much ball drive or prey drive. They play so well with me. It's like, no, that's not the same. It's not the same as actually that dog being able to interact with a decoy and still stay in drive when they're doing that type of work. That's a whole different thing, right? Your dog playing with you at home, really, most people aren't able to see what you need to see in a dog in order to judge their ability to do protection. And a lot of dogs play very well with their owners at home, but again, it doesn't really have a lot of bearing. Let's see here, guys. When I correct my puppy for biting hands, I pinch the scruff. She seems to get angry and bites me even more and starts lunging. Yeah, for sure, it's normal. So what you've done is you're negatively reinforcing biting. Okay? Negatively reinforcing biting isn't good. You want to punish biting. So if you say, listen, I don't want you to bite anymore, I'm going to punish you for biting, right? And you do something and the biting gets worse, you haven't punished the dog. You've negatively reinforced the dog. You don't get to decide what you've done. The dog will tell you what you've done. So if I do something and the dog comes back at me a little bit harder, then generally what I've done is the dog's telling me, hey, that thing that you did's not enough. So I'll double down and I'll do a lot more. And usually at that point, the dog says, okay, I'm going to stop. So what most people do, I call it nagging corrections. They do little itty bitty things, and it just amps the dog up, or maybe it works 1 or 2 times and then all of a sudden it's not enough anymore. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're going to correct a dog, don't go halfway, right? And if the dog comes back at you harder, you need to double down and you need to not stop until they've stopped. If you've done it properly, done. It's like that. Perhaps set your stream quality to 720p. Will be much more clear. I don't know, Ivan. Is it like really grainy? Okay. Let's see here, guys. And guys, look, if you're not in my course and you're asking me something like, hey, how do I do this or how do I do that? And the question is answered in the course. Look, out of respect to the people that bought the course, I'm not going to get into a long, drawn-out kind of response. I'm going to say, hey, look, take the course. It'll help you. And all of you guys that are having obedience issues and reactivity issues, we've got a course for that. And hours of me talking about that specific problem. Advice with a black German Shepherd that's reactive towards other dogs. Lives with another German Shepherd. Neither has an issue. That's very common for reactive dogs. Most of them live with other dogs. I correct every time I see a reaction. Well, take the reactive dog course, and what you'll find, and I'll tell you this. Obviously, if you're correcting the dog and the dog's re-engaging in the behavior, you're not correcting the dog. Again, it's a situation where you think you're doing something. He's telling you you're not doing what you think you're doing. Okay. So I went to Real Malmo Man. So I went to Von Lick trainer course. Would you be open to running some extended trainer courses? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure because if you mean like here, I offer an apprenticeship. Okay, guys, sorry. Okay. So, yeah, I offer an apprenticeship. You mean if you mean like an online trainer's course, I'll probably look at doing something like that in the future. You know, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, you know, we'll get to it when we get to it. We got a lot of things to get to. Yeah. So, will you consider expanding to Twitch or TikTok? David, YouTube and Instagram are already killing me. I need like a full-time media person to be able to go that direction. Would it be a good idea? Probably. Am I going to do it? I mean, I can't tell you that I will. Maybe one day I'll take it up, but not yet. My 1-year-old short-hair pointer has bad environmentals and stranger fear. Obedience is good. Continually socializing. What am I missing? Can the dog ever be truly stable or confident? It depends on what your definition of stable and confident is. We'll say that what you really want to be doing with dogs like that is, like I said, putting structure, obedience on them, and structured obedience where there's no options, right? And then exposure and also keeping the dog safe in public. Stop letting strange people touch your dog. You know, don't make your dog's worst fears come true. And a lot of exposure, a lot of structure, and usually a lot of play with the dog as well. And then you want to kind of balance everything out. And usually if you're consistent and you're very clear with your work, it helps the dog and they do kind of calm down and do well. Ever since my German Shepherd turned 1, his prey drive is through the roof. That's good. He likes to run after quail. And it sucks when he's on the leash. Well, it sounds like you need to fix the leash walking. My dog is scared to go on the bus, but he will put the brakes on and won't eat treats. What do? You make him go on the bus. If he doesn't want to eat treats, that's fine. But you still make him go on the bus. In many cases with fearful dogs, they don't want to do something. I don't want to go up the stairs. I don't want to go on the bus. Whatever it is, right? So what do? We turn the pressure on. They go on the thing that terrifies them. And then we turn the pressure off. And if they want to eat, fine. And if they don't, no problem. And we do it. And you'll see that after you do it a few times, your dog will take the food again. Because their stress level decreases because they realize that they can do something. The worst thing that you can do with a fearful dog is when they put the brakes on, you stop too. I always say, you know, half the time people bring dogs into my training room. And it's a little bit darker in the training room than it is outside. So when they open the door and they try to walk in with their fearful dog, the dog puts on the brakes and says, hell no, I don't want to come in. But when you say, no, come on in, then you see, no, you have to come in. And they pull the dog and the dog comes in and then they release the pressure. And then, oh, okay, I can do it, right? It's just that the dog doesn't believe that they can do it. I'll give you an example. Last time I went to Costa Rica, I've only been once. I went to Costa Rica a few years ago, and there was like this I have a thing for heights. I don't like heights, okay? There was like this humongous like bungee jumping kind of swingy thing. It was like hundreds of feet up in the air over the jungle. You go there, they push you, and it's kind of like this swing where it's like a mixture of a bungee jump and a swing. Anyways, point being, I went there and I said, guys, push me off. I didn't try to do it myself. I said, listen, push me off because I know that that's going to be what's best for me. And I didn't want to hold up the line. So they pushed me off. I screamed like a girl on the way down and then I had fun, right? So it's the same thing with dogs that have like issues with environment and they don't want to do it. Make them do it. And you make them do it a few times. So let's say I have a dog who's afraid to jump up on the table. I'll say, okay, come off the table. Then I make the dog go on the table. I'll, use the leash pressure and I'll force him onto the table. I'll relax the pressure, praise him, off the table, back on, off, on. And I'll do it a bunch of times until he goes on with no effort at all. Then I say, okay, good boy, that's it. And then I guarantee you next time I tell him to go on the table, he jumps on the table and you feed him a treat and he's happy. Okay, let's see what else we've got. When he's mouthing, does my course explain what to do? He is, yeah, so what if you have a fearful dog, okay, and your dog's doing these things, again, fearful dogs, they'll do these things where they either mouth you, they jump on you, they try to hug you. Save me, mommy, I don't want to do that scary thing. When you say, no, 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 you're not going to do that type of, I'm not allowing those types of things. You're not going to climb all over me. You're not going to mouth me. You're not going to run away. You're just going to do it. You wouldn't believe what that does for their confidence. And then when you say, okay, you've done it. Now, guess what? You get something nice now. Again, the confidence improves. So yes, my course will show you what to do with that stuff. We talk about how to correct unwanted behavior. But yes, you must correct these behaviors. And believe me, he won't die. Let's see here. Does a dog change a lot in its behavior from 5 months and a year? Absolutely. They change a heck of a lot. Have you worked any American Bulldogs? Yes, I have. I've definitely worked a few. Best guess, police canine breeders. I don't know, John, what you're asking me. Have you heard of or dealt with the Czech kennel Opavia Hoff? Yes, I bred on a dog from Opavia Hoff. I don't have any overall impression because I only know one dog from their kennel. His name was, or is, Tor. No, it was. I think he's dead now. Tor Opavia Hoff. I had one kennel with him with frozen semen, and that I had one breeding with him from frozen semen. That breeding actually is, I think it's my most viral video. Those puppies that you see coming in the room where I'm like kind of checking the puppies and saying what they would be good for and what I like, what I don't like. That puppy evaluation video, those are Tor Opavia Hoff, bred with my Kina Divatrovic Loki. So if you look on my breeding, on my females page, she's retired now, but Kina was bred to Tor via frozen artificial insemination, and those 4 puppies were the result. They were fantastic puppies, man. I wish Tor was still alive, and I wish I still had semen from him because I would breed him again in a heartbeat. Do they have another dog like Tor? I've never heard of anything else that they have going on, so I can't speak to it. How much should I run a 7-month-old Malinois? Don't run them too much. Be careful with repetitive exercise with young dogs. What is your opinion on fake protection dog trainers? A dog who only bites if he sees a sleeve. Can you sue that, or how can a victim deal with that? No, I don't think you can sue them. That's something tough to sue, you know, because they'll turn around and like, look, you go to court. They'll turn around and blame you. They're going to say, you know, it's your fault. Like, you did something wrong. You screwed up the dog. Look how good he is, right? You have to understand that with a lot of protection dog trainers, especially in the States, and look, I'll tell you, it's funny. I was frustrated recently because lately I've been getting a lot of requests for protection dogs, but everybody that's requesting these protection dogs, they've got like 10 kids and, you know, they've got like 6 dogs in the house and they've got a cat and, you know, granny's coming over every other week and she doesn't knock before she comes in the door. And the dog needs to be super social, but then on the other hand, he needs to be a killer. And, you know, if someone does the wrong thing, the dog needs to respond, but he shouldn't respond 99% of the time. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to, and I tell them the truth. I'm like, yeah, what you're asking for doesn't really make that much sense, but, you know, good luck, right? But, you know, I know that when I tell them that, they are going to go somewhere else and somebody else is going to sell them that type of dog that you just described. You know, a dog that basically will just bite a sleeve. You know, there's no real aggression in him, but you don't know it. You look at the behavior and you say, oh, yeah, look, he's doing protection. But really, that dog isn't doing protection. But you know what? I'll tell you this. They're never going to get sued for a dog that doesn't do anything. They would maybe get sued for a dog that does bite somebody without, you know, granny walks in or the maid or whatever. You know, they're all afraid of having to deal with that scenario, right? Where the dog is too much. So they'd rather err on the side of selling you what I call a faux protection dog. And I understand why they do it. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. I'm just reading through all of this stuff. Some of you guys are talking about raw. I'll say this about raw. You know, I use raw off and on. I use raw for some of my dogs. I got some of my dogs that are on raw some of the times. They're on kibble the other times. You know, for some dogs, raw is a fantastic choice. For those of you wondering, we do actually carry and sell raw here. From my friend James, my friends James and Joel. They actually are in the raw dog food business. They grind the dog food for us. They use a combination of beef organ, ground chicken, kelp, carrot. Oh man, there's one other thing I'm totally forgetting. Kale, right? And they put it all together. There's organs, there's bones, and there's everything else in there. And it's an all-in-one kind of mix that I use. And I feed it to my dogs personally. I sell it here. But I also carry kibble. And I'll tell you this. When I'm training a puppy, I don't want to use raw, just simply because I like to use the dog's food for the training. They're very motivated to train. So with that, I don't really use the raw for that. But like for adult dogs that are here, you know, like my breeding female, stuff like that, I will use raw. I have noticed with raw, for some dogs, they do fantastic on it. Some dogs that struggle with kibble and stuff like this, they do very well on the raw. But vice versa, there are some dogs that don't do well on raw. They have lower energy. They constantly are having issues. But when you switch to the kibble, they do fantastic. So there are some dogs for which the raw is good, and there are some dogs for which the raw is not good. That's what I will say about that. I am not a canine nutritionist. I just know the dogs tell me if it works well or not. Are there any male pups from Victor available? No, there are not. Only female. I got one really spicy female from Victor if you want her. I've got 2 courses so far. Jake. So Jake asks, what do I do if I want to become a police canine handler? Well, Jake, there's a couple things for police canine. I'm not a police canine handler, so I'm not speaking to you from that perspective. But it depends on if you're in Canada or the United States. But in both those places, you have to understand that being in a special unit in a police department is a very coveted position. You're not going to walk in off the street and be in a special unit. You're going to have to work your way into that unit. So the way that you do that, like for most police department, like I'll speak to a local department I know about here in Canada. You've got to be on the department for a minimum of like 4 or 5 years. Then you put in your request to join that specific unit. Then that unit kind of decides if they want you in their unit in the first place. Then from there, if they decide they want you in the unit, usually there's like kind of like a trial period where you're kind of doing like not police canine handling, but you're kind of helping around and stuff like that. Maybe a year, 2 years while you wait for a position to open up, and then you get access to a position. Nobody walks in off the street to become a police canine handler on a police department, because all the guys that are already there, guess what? They want to get off the road, you know, doing like the regular traffic cop stuff or regular beat cop stuff. They want to go and join a special unit, and you're going to have to get in line behind those guys that have seniority over you. So that's basically it. And in some departments, having any previous experience, like for me, for instance, let's say I went and joined a police department and I said, hey, you know, guys, after my 4 years I was in the police department, I said, look, I want to be in the police canine. I ran this company called Shield Canine. I really know what I'm doing when it comes to training dogs, blah, blah, blah. Believe me, in many of those departments, just that alone would automatically disqualify me from the position. So be very careful if you are in a police department or if you've joined a police department, ask around and make sure that previous experience will actually help you in the application process before you mention it. Because sometimes mentioning that you have previous experience, they will not take you. They'll say, we'd rather just have a blank slate that we can train him everything our way versus, you know, him coming in with, oh, he thinks he knows this and that and everything else. So you have to keep that in mind. With the availability of frozen semen, are breeders now able to breed to the best of the best stocks ever? not just those alive around today. Has this improved the breed noticeably? Not at all. So number one, breeding with frozen semen is very expensive. And because it's very expensive, it's also less of a guarantee than breeding on a live dog, right? So it's still not particularly popular because it's expensive. And it's less likely that you're going to breed on a live dog. It's less likely that the dog's going to catch, right? So for instance, for me to breed on that dog Tor, I think it cost me upwards of $5,000 to do that breeding. And I got 4 puppies, right? I want you to think about that. Now, what if that breeding hadn't come through? Well, I'd be $5,000 in a hole. I would not have had a breeding, right? I'd missed that heat. So then I have to wait a whole 6 months to 7 months for another heat cycle. You know, it's no joke to do that. I recently bought a puppy from my friends, Rob and Michelle. I have a really nice female puppy from the dog Bordy Blendy. She's a Bordy Blendy daughter, and she's out of a dog that they imported here to Canada, and they bred on the frozen semen. And look, that dog Bordy Blendy, look him up on YouTube. I'll just write it here so you guys can see what he looks like. Bordy Blendy, German Shepherd. Okay. So this is Bordy Blendy, and I always wanted a puppy from him. My God, this stuff is depressing. Okay, there we go. I always wanted a puppy from him, and because I really loved the quality of the dog's work, I love the size of the dog, so on and so forth, and just a dog that has excellent dominant fighting behavior. He's a big boy, right? So I have this female Dex that's a Bordy Blendy daughter. And that dog, they've used look at that. They've used frozen semen multiple times in North America, and I think there's only been 2 to 3 successful breedings in North America with the frozen semen, right? And people have been spending a lot of money on those breedings. So just to give you an idea, right? It's not so common for people to use it. I still personally prefer to use live cover. Can you line breed dogs? Yeah, man, you can for sure line breed dogs. You have to be very careful what you're line breeding. So you could for sure line breed. You're talking real tight, right? Like father daughter, that kind of stuff. Yes, you can do it, but you have to be very, very careful because if there's something like, let's say there's something about the dog that you know is a problem, and you're trying to cover that problem. So let's say I have a dog. That I know has, maybe could use a little more ball drive. Everything else is great, but the ball drive maybe could be a bit better. Why would I line breed on that dog? Right? Like, you have to be very careful with the line breeding. A lot of people line breed on dogs that have issues, and then they wonder why those issues keep cropping up. I'll tell you this, the Victor breeding, okay? So people ask about my Victor. I bred Victor to Amelia. And what came from that breeding was Boli Yanaka. So Bol Janaka. Okay. So Bol Yanaka is he's dead now. But Boli was a dog who sorry here. Boli was a very famous dog. Very famous for his working quality, right? Now, this breeding with Victor is 3-2 on Boli Yanaka. So that's a line breeding, okay? It's not father-daughter, but Boli is the great-grandfather and then the grandfather on one side. Just so you guys get an idea. So, 3-2, 2-1, you can definitely line breed. You just have to be careful, and you have to understand what you're line breeding on. If you guys are interested in line breeding, check out my friend Stefan Schaub at Von der Staatsmacht. He's got a fantastic program there, and he line breeds a lot, but he spent decades refining his dogs. I would never line breed unless I really thought everything about the dog I was line breeding on was perfect. So, yeah. And 3-2 isn't a super tight line breeding, right? Great-grandfather on one side, grandfather on the other side. But Boli was a very famous dog. And I'm thinking these puppies are going to have a lot of spice. I might keep a female back from this breeding and see how she turns out. I have a bicolor female that looks exactly like this in that breeding. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to move this here. Okay. All right. So, let's see. Any other questions here that we've got to work through? Joe. Oh, I don't think that's a question. Hi, Haz. Is it normal for my dog to be very scared of the bonker after I've pre-bonked him twice? Yeah. If he's scared of the bonker after you bonked him, for sure. The thing that I always say to people is be careful. Be very careful with the bonker. So I'll only use it if I absolutely have to. And then once I've used it, make sure you're marking. A lot of people walk around rattling the bonker and they're like, look, I got this bonker, I'll bonk you. Don't do that, okay? If the dog's misbehaving, mark no, pick up the bonker and apply, the bonk to the dog. But don't walk around with that bonker, because then, of course, the dog's going to be terrified because you're holding this thing over his head, right? So you have to be very careful. I talk more about the bonking in the course, so please re-watch that part and follow the instructions very carefully. Oh, Onyx is here. My good old friend Onyx. I'm glad that he's doing well. He's a beast. Has a son from him. Oh, somebody's saying has a son from him. Joe, what son do you have from Onyx? Tell me. I'm curious. I remember the dogs more than I remember the people. What kind of collar do I put on Gage? Oh, it's a fur saver. I put a fur saver on Gage. So that's like his on button. I have a 65-pound, 17-month-old German Shepherd. She's the same weight for a few months. Can I expect her to get any bigger? Yeah, I mean, usually up to 3, they will get bigger. Usually thicker and wider and a little bit heavier bone. From Bordy. Oh, that's good, man. I'm glad you have a son. Not so many people have those puppies here. And I've seen a lot of puppies from Bordy that aren't very good. I think Bordy, the problem is when you see a dog like Bordy or Boley, people breed on them a lot. And, they basically try to make up for a bitch's failings with Bordy. I'll tell you this. I didn't buy that puppy because of Bordy. I bought the puppy actually because of the female. And then when I saw the female, she was a super active female, very high drive, good aggression on her. And just one of those bitches that's never still, very quick to be frustrated, very active female, super quick to frustrate, just super active, Red Bull in her veins, basically. And I said, this is the perfect bitch to go on Bordy, because Bordy brings a little more level. He's going to level out. He's going to level her out, right? He's going to calm her blood down a little bit. Whereas if you bred her to another, kind of active, more high frustration male, I think you're going to have dogs that are they lack clarity. But I think Bordy's going to give the clarity without the loss of power. So I was very happy with the combination, and so far the puppy's a fantastic puppy. Crazy drive on her, but I don't know. I don't know how the ball drive's going to turn out. We'll see. She's too young to see it yet. The food drive though is crazy, and the confidence is through the roof. Bully pushes handler aggression. Yes. So you will see some handler aggression coming through Bully, but what it is actually, in many cases, it's just sensitivity, and the dog deals with the sensitivity by overreacting, right? So that's where a lot of that handler aggression comes from. I actually like it, because when you know how to use the handler aggression, you actually get more power in the dog, and that conflict creates even more power. So I'm not afraid of that kind of stuff. I really like that. Same with Ibn Jippo Me. He has a lot of Ontario German Shepherd. Ibn? No. Ibn produce a lot of very... I've actually seen quite a few puppies from Ibn, and I liked all of them. I thought they were all very level dogs, but good dogs. I actually wish Ibn was still breeding, because I would use him. Um, Custom canine, Great Dane Malinois mix, looking to do protection work. Well, I've got a lot of experience with Great Danes, and I've got a lot of experience with Malinois. A combination of both I could not imagine. You got to be careful, man. I don't know. I'll tell you this. Most Great Danes are born with their tails between the legs, and I don't think the tail comes from between the legs until they die. And, putting that in with a Malinois, I don't think you're going to have a very good combination, but I could be wrong. In my life here, I've trained many Great Danes, and my brother Sal, those of you that know him, he's got a big thing for Great Danes. He loves Great Danes. He actually has adopted like 2 Great Danes from clients that brought us Great Danes, and they just couldn't handle the Great Dane. And in the end, they said, well, you love them so much, you keep them. Sal has 2 of these monsters, and they're funny dogs, but they're such insecure dogs, And almost every Great Dane I've ever trained has been insecure. My puppy is from Extreme Oryx. Oh, Extreme Oryx. I've had a couple dogs from Extreme. I had a dog named Drago from Extreme. So Drago was an Extreme Oryx son, and he definitely threw drive and grips. Do you have any tip when raising 2 dogs to get them to focus on me versus each other? I've answered this before, and it's always the same. Stop allowing them to self-satisfy by interacting with one another. Create more fundamentals. Create more focus on you as the source of drive, satisfaction, arousal, all that type of stuff. The thing that a lot of dogs do is they get addicted to the dopamine rush that they get playing with each other, right? If you ever watch dogs play with each other, it's super rough, it's super intense, it's super extreme. I try to mimic that play when I play with my dogs, where it's like I almost drive them to the point of insanity the way that we play, right? Now, and that just creates so much dopamine, and they get so much arousal from that. Now, with each other, minimize it. Don't let them play together too much. Keep them calm with each other. I really work very hard on this, and it really helps, I think, to promote more focus on me versus one another. So be careful with that stuff. Let's see here. What else do we have here? I like this topic. I like discussing like the German Shepherd studs, guys. I really like talking about breeding, because I've owned a lot of dogs over my time from different stud dogs, current and past. So I like talking about the lines and what I saw in the dogs, because I got to work the dogs. I didn't just own the dogs. I worked the dogs. We did protection. We did obedience. Sometimes we did tracking. So Nick, have you ever fought? You make comparisons to combat sports often. No, never been in the UFC. Sorry, I've never fought. I've never, do I do a little like training? Yes, but I've never fought. I just use that comparison because I think that they're very adjacent kind of activities, and I find them very interesting. Let's see here. Hello, Haz. Having trouble with my male 8-month-old German Shepherd with play biting. Well, my friend, you need to correct the behavior. I suggest you take my course and we go over all that stuff. Oryx gets drive and grips from Falk, Van den Wolfen. Well, Falk, again, he's one of those dogs where you hear about Falk a lot. I knew somebody that knew, was it Falk? Yes, it was Falk. I know somebody that knew Falk, and he said some not so very nice things about Falk. Like, he knew the dog in person, he worked the dog, and I don't particularly like Falk. And the Oryx son I had, he was a nice dog to sell. He definitely wasn't a dog for you to keep. He was missing a little something. I have seen some nice Oryx kids, obviously, just because I see one kid or 2 kids. I think I've had two from Oryx, and they all had driving grips, but they were missing substance. They were missing a little substance that I would look for. Harder working dogs like Onyx are not for everyone. People think they want one until they get one. I agree with that, for sure. They're not such easy dogs to live with. It's not such easy dogs to keep. You have to be careful. The spicy female from Victor, is it Cypher or a puppy that isn't on your website? I have not listed any of the puppies in Victor's litter on my website. And Cypher is sold now. She was a herder puppy. I'll probably put a puppy from Victor up on the website. I just haven't got to it yet. Did you go to school in Kitchener? Did we play football together? I didn't go to school in Kitchener, and I certainly didn't make the football team where I did go to school. I was a little bit of a fatty in high school, believe it or not. Boo, 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 boo. Sorry, guys, just going through the question. I don't know Quintus Equidius. Like, obviously, Equidius has stocks like Drago that are very... you see a lot of Drago in the... in pedigrees all over, but I'm not sure about Quintus. I've never really seen him work or looked into him. Hi, Has. Is the female left from V-litter is good? It can be both, Dan. You know, this litter, I will say, you know, like, look, if you have a soft hand, these might not be for you. Victor and Amelia are both kind of puff dogs, and they're intense dogs. They're intense dogs. They have reactivity. They have drive. So if you're looking for like kind of an easy peasy dog, I wouldn't maybe suggest one of these puppies. If you want something with a little bit of fire, you know, then go for it. Let's see here. Are you trolling me? What do you think about breeding a German Shepherd male and a female pit bull? Terrible. Don't do that. Okay. You know, okay. When a guy like me, when a guy like me breeds, you know, when a guy like me breeds like, okay, a Malinois German Shepherd, they're not just a Malinois and a German Shepherd. Whenever someone asks me a question, okay, if I bred a German Shepherd to a Great Dane or something like that, I say, okay, you shouldn't be breeding because you don't really understand. There are 1,000 versions of a German Shepherd. What line's German Shepherd? What's the performance of the German Shepherd like? Look, like, you know, the same with the pit bull. What lines? What's the performance? What have you done with the dogs? Have you health tested the dogs? Are you working the dogs? These kinds of things. If you haven't done these things, you really have no business breeding them together. You're just going to create another bunch of awful mutts that unfortunately are going to, you know, be... Think about what you're bringing into the world, right? You're bringing these dogs into the world that are completely, you know, they're gonna be lacking in nerve. They're gonna be lacking in stability. You know, they're gonna be ugly. They're gonna be mutts. You're creating dogs that have no value, but they're still life. There's still soul. There's still a soul in the damn dog, but it has no value and it has no use, and it has traits that make it difficult for people to live with. Think about what you're doing. Is that such a good idea? Is that such an ethical thing to do? You know, when I breed a herder dog, right? Like when I'm breeding my Malinois and German Shepherds, these are both dogs from very strong working lines. I can tell you about their great-grandparents. I can point to them on a pedigree. I can pull up a YouTube video of the dog working, right? Like, that's the difference. It's not something that we just do, oh, let me breed a Malinois to a Dalmatian and see what comes from it. You don't do that kind of stuff. And if you have to ask me what you think about it, I'm going to tell you don't do it. You shouldn't ask me anything about that, right? There's a guy in the UK, I've talked about him briefly before, and he does bull herders. So he breeds herding dogs, like I think the Dutch Shepherds and stuff like this with the Pressas and stuff like that. But he knows the dogs, right? He knows the dogs. He knows the working quality of the dogs. He's a decoy. He's able to judge the quality of the dogs. And I've seen the dogs that come from his breedings, and they're very good. It's not because that it's not because he's bred a Malinois to a Pressa that they're good. There's 1,000 Malinois. There's 1,000,000 Malinois and there's 1,000,000 Pressa. It's because he's breeding the right Malinois to the right Pressas that they're good. And if you have to ask me, you are not the one to be doing that, right? And he's a guy who has a name in the industry. He knows he has a place to put these dogs, right? He breeds those dogs. He has the name, just like me. When I breed herders, it's not like, oh no, what do I do with my herders? I have a place to put them. I know people. They will take them. I have waiting lists for people that want those dogs. So do not frivolously breed dogs, whether they're purebred dogs or mixed dogs. If you don't know what you're doing, you're not working the dogs, you don't know what you're looking at, do not do it. You're not doing anything good. Okay. Sorry, guys. Got me going. Okay. I know many people who dislike Has based on his personality, but his personality is totally opposite of bad. Ivan! My God. You know what? I know many people that dislike me based on my personality too, so we have that in common. You know what it is? I think it's because I'm pretty direct, and sometimes I'm not so careful with my delivery. And if I was a little bit more careful with my delivery, I'd probably have a few more friends. There's definitely some things there for me to work on, but also I think some people like things too much sugar coated, and I don't have it in me to sugarcoat. I need to work on my sugar coating. But yeah, let's see here. I was gonna pull up a video, but I totally got sidetracked. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Skyforger has helped me bring back the Czechoslovakian Vaklak. Oh, I've seen those. Why do you want to mess with those dogs? What are you going to do with those dogs? What are you going to do with those dogs? Joe, what are you breeding right now for IGP? Joe, I don't breed for IGP. Like, I breed for me, right? So, like, I believe that a good breeding is going to produce dogs that are good all-around dogs, good protection dogs, and then you'll get a dog like my Gauge, for instance, that I think has good potential in IGP. And I just kind of keep my eye out and I see what comes from the breedings. I just try to use the best dogs that complement one another. So if I have a female that has certain strengths, like a lot of my females right now lean towards being a little bit more social, big grips, big prey. So I look for males that kind of bring a little more temperament to the equation, a little more fire, a little more aggression. Because we've got the prey, we've got the stability. I want to add a little fire so that they're not too flat, right? So that's what I'm kind of doing right now. My next breeding's an interesting breeding. I bred a Vasco son to a nice female that I have that's not up on the website. She's an all-black female that I got from the Czech Republic, or Slovakia actually, and very stable, balanced female, really nice prey. So I'm excited to see what that produces. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good IGP dog in there. I actually have an IGP dog right now that I bred. One of my last breedings with Onyx, I bred Onyx to a Staatsmacht female, and I got a really nice puppy out of that. She has one ear. Her name's Link, and she is going to be, I think, a really nice IGP dog. I don't think I'll keep her for myself just because I have too many right now, but just so you guys know. So yeah, anybody who wants a nice IGP dog, I have a female I think that will fill that role for sure. Okay. I have a 4-month-old working line German Shepherd, been reacting to strangers since 3 months old. Well, it's only been a month. Best tips. Yeah, look, Sean, you just got to redirect the puppy. Don't let them engage in that behavior and self-satisfy, and then redirect them into something else and just keep them moving, Just curious if your dogs live in kennels or in the house. Well, a couple of my dogs live in the house and the rest of them live in the kennels because I don't want that many dogs in my house. Let's see here, guys. There's some other questions. How old are Victor puppies? They're 7 weeks. Have you ever heard of Action Van Het Bleekhoff? No, I have not. I watched a great interview with the Sartoris kennel breeder. Yeah, I watched that interview too. It was, I believe it was Mark. Mark was, Marco. Marco was interviewing the Sartoris kennel breeder. It was for sure an interesting interview. And just so you know, Victor is Sartoris on the bottom of his pedigree. His mother is Sartoris Puma. So, in case you're curious, Sartoris Puma is a fantastic female that I saw. And where is she? I'm just trying to pull her up here. Oh, it's because I misspelled Sartoris. There she is. Well, this is a video of her obedience, so it's kind of hard to see the quality in the dog and the obedience. But just so you guys have an idea, this is Sartoris Puma. This is Victor's mom. Okay? So you can see where he gets his movement from. You know, I always say there's some dogs, they have very nice natural movement. She's got that beautiful flowing movement. Of course, the trainer that's training her is a fantastic trainer, and really knows how to get the most out of a dog. This is a lady, by the way, if she ever did a seminar here, I don't think she speaks very good English. That's the problem. Otherwise, I swear I'd have her here for a seminar. This lady does some of the best obedience I've ever seen. I really love her work. Okay. So, yeah, that's Sartoris Puma. Let me see here. Yeah. I don't know if they have a... They had protection, but I'm not going to look for it right now. Info on dogs not on the website. Well, my friend, if you want something and you're serious, message me and I'll let you know. I have often stuff that's not on the website. I find it very interesting the large number of dog training businesses in your area. Did these competitors set up shop in response to you? I know you mentioned former employees taking your philosophy. Yeah, I mean, look, I have grandchildren now because I've made, I always say, you know, like these guys for better or for kids. I mean, some of them are older than me. You know, definitely there's like, I'd say I made about 6-7 dog trainers, maybe 8. And then some of them have now made some dog trainers. And not all of them are around me, though. There's always been a lot of other dog trainers around, but not very many of them were doing what we're doing. But slowly I've seen more and more of them starting to, you know, mess around with the e-collars and stuff like this. But, of course, what we do is so much more than the e-collars. So if you think that the secret is the e-collar, I mean, good luck to you. And that's why we see a lot of, believe me, I see a lot of dogs from these people, and it's like, you know, the dog really just doesn't know anything, and they've literally just used the e-collar in a punitive manner, and, you know, the results sometimes it's not very good. I'm not saying that none of the trainers around me or none of my former employees aren't doing good work. Listen, some of my guys, there's some of people that used to train here that have now started their own thing, and they're doing some fantastic work for sure, and I still have a relationship with them, and I think that they do good work, and they represent me well. And then there's some people, of course, that unfortunately do not. Any info on... No, I don't like talking about other... Like, I don't like being specific about people. I don't know the person that you're mentioning, though. Giant Schnauzer as a protection dog. For sure can work if you have a good one. Do you think volunteering at a pet shelter is a good place to start for a beginner trainer? Well, Ryan, I don't know that you'll learn much. I mean, usually shelters are very force-free, right? It's like very force-free, not a... not like there's not a lot that really happens, you know. It's important. I think if you want to learn how to train dogs, you get a dog and you start actually training it. I think that's the best way. Jake, how old is the female you're talking? I'm not sure what female you're talking that I was talking about. Boom, 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 boom. We need Has to pay a visit to Florida. Well, Kevin, I need to pay a visit to Florida too. We'll see. We'll see. You know, I used to go to Florida for vacations, and I really actually quite like South Florida. So I wouldn't be surprised if I managed to make it down there at some point soon. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see here. Will you teach me if I travel and work for you? No, but you can sign up for the apprenticeship with me. I don't like, you know, the days of me giving away, you know, basically the complete how to be a dog trainer kind of thing. Those days are over. I've got no problem. You want to pay for an apprenticeship and do an apprenticeship with me? I'll do it all for you, right? Like we'll show you how to be a dog trainer, but I'm not just giving that stuff away for free. What are my thoughts on the soup method of imprinting dogs on odor? I mean, like any other method, it can work. You just have to, I would say it makes sense. Some people don't like it. I could see, with some dogs maybe struggling with it. I don't do tons of scent work, due disclosure. For me, it's not something that's particularly interested in me that much. So I can't speak to the efficacy of that versus another method. I understand what the method is. It makes sense when you think about it. I could see some dogs struggling. That's all. What's the wait list for board and train? The wait list for board and train is, I think we're in February right now. So it's a month, pretty much a month. I have been to Iowa. There's a fantastic dog training place. I went and did, I've been to some dog training workshops in Iowa. It was very cold. Let me see. Would I make a profit breeding working line German Shepherds as pets? No. Don't do it. There's enough crappy dogs out there. What do I think of viral? I mean, if that's your... All right, guys. Look, I'll say this about Viral. Viral is a guy. He's not in this country, so me saying something about him is not going to hurt at all his business. I'll say this about Viral. Viral is an excellent example of very showy work that we call it seminar work, right? Like you go to the seminar, you wow all the people, and then you leave. But what really happened? He does a lot of work where it's like, if you know what it looks impressive and it's showy, but it's like, I question really the function of what's happening there. And I feel like it's one of those things where it's more like, the decoy hyping up the dog versus actually creating functional progress. I guess that's the best way to say it. I don't recommend you trying to breed for profit. You should breed to make improvements, not money. Now, see, Skyforger, I'll disagree with you here. For sure, I don't look to lose money when I breed. But I've invested the time and the effort into my understanding of the breed, into what I do with the breed, that kind of stuff, that I can go out there and make money breeding dogs. Is it a lot of money? In my opinion, no, it's really not that much money, especially for the work that you're putting in. But for sure, I have no problem making money on the breeding, but you've got to do the work in order to be worth the money, right? Like you can't just be some nobody breeding these dogs. And what have you competed in? What have you done with your dogs? How have you proved your dogs? How have you proved your knowledge, right? You're just another person breeding dogs in your backyard. And that's the thing. Hercules von Groben X, opinions on everyone breeding to him. For sure, he's produced some good dogs, right? Like, absolutely. It's always hard to say, right? Like, with the right female, obviously, he's going to produce well. The problem is what happens in the breedings is a few big name people will go and breed on a dog, and then everybody runs to breed on the dog. Or one of the sons of the dog performs well in the competition, then everybody runs to go breed on the dog. And many people don't have the right female for that dog. And so many people buy puppies based on the father and not on the mother. And the mother is just as important in the mix as the father is. And I personally will never buy a hype breeding unless I know that the female's really good. Just like I explained in the Bordy Blendy breeding, right? Okay. Yeah, for the Bordy Blendy breeding, I bought the puppy based on the female. I'm from Southern Ontario. Do you have any openings for training my 2-year-old German Shepherd in bite work and protection? Well, if he's capable of doing protection, for sure, give us a call. Good Malinois breeders in the States that have the Shield Canine stamp of approval. I don't know. I don't really give anyone a blanket stamp of approval. There are certain breedings that appeal to me and certain breedings that don't. For sure, there are definitely some Malinois breeders in the States that have dogs that have done well on the high levels, and some of them that don't. It's the same with, this John, you keep asking about police dog breeders. It's the same thing. Some breedings are going to be good and some breedings aren't. There's not one kennel that always produces. Believe me, I've bought dogs from so many breeders. I've bought dogs from so many breedings and from so many kennels, and a lot of them had a ton of hype behind them. And I've bought dogs from nobody, and believe me, it's like there's been some dogs out of nowhere that are absolutely fantastic dogs, and then there's been dogs from really hyped up breedings and kennels that you couldn't pay me to feed. What is a reasonable price per session for protection training? Depends on the trainer. Depends on what they're doing with your dog. I'm sure you'll find some people that charge you $20, and some people charge you $300 an hour. Right? It totally depends. What are your thoughts on spaying and neutering? Don't do it until 2 if you're going to do it. Let's see here. So proving your dog off equipment when training an apprehension dog for police work. Do you transition to hidden sleeve first? Yeah, sometimes. But with protection, people always say, okay, well, how do I get my dog to a point where he'll bite for real? And it's not a progression of equipment that gets you there. It's ensuring that the dog is in the right frame of mind when they're biting. I can look at a dog that's biting a sleeve and say, that mofo is going to really bite somebody. And I can look at a dog that's biting a hidden sleeve and say, that dog will not bite anybody. Right? So it's about the emotion behind the work. You can really get even most half-assed dogs to bite a hidden sleeve, or even to do muzzle work. It doesn't mean much. It's the emotion. And if you're somebody that knows what you're doing, you're always able to see the emotion in the dog's work. And you can say, okay, this dog's really all about it, and then this dog isn't. Do I work with Rotties? Yeah, I've worked with always lots of Rotties. There are many Rotties that come here. I like them. They can be a lot for people that don't know what they're doing or aren't prepared to kind of deal with a bit of a rough and tough dog. And when they're good, they're a handful. And when they're bad, they're really a handful. There's a breeder in Ontario. I can't remember her name, and I probably shouldn't say her name, but she produces some Rottweilers that are just absolute genetic pieces of garbage. And, I've had a couple of Rotties come from her, and they're all so unstable and so dangerous. They're insecure dogs, but they react, instead of with flight to their insecurity, they react immediately with aggression. And they all bite the handlers. They bite their own family. They're resource guarders. They'll bite the kids in the family, so on and so forth. I think I've seen like 3-4 dogs from her to this point, and the consistency is just unbelievable. Terrible dogs, and beautiful dogs, but terrible dogs. Go on our website, Dave. Prices are on there. Do you find a great breeder for working line? My next dog in a year from now, I want to be a true good pairing for competing either IGP or PSA. Well, IGP and PSA are two very different things, Caitlin. You need a very different type of dog for one versus the other. If you want to, I always say, if you want a PSA dog, go and look for a PSA specific breeding where they're using dogs that have a lot of success in that course. And then, if you want an IGP dog, those are a little bit different kind of dog, because IGP, there's a big guarding component in IGP, and the obedience is more demanding, as well as the guarding and all that type of stuff. So it's a little bit different. So you don't necessarily want the same type of dog. I definitely don't want, like for instance, my dog Gage, really good, I think, for IGP. I wouldn't really like him so much in PSA. Not that I don't think he could do it, but I just don't like him. You're not snacking. I know, it's kind of rude to eat into the camera, into the microphone, I think. Man. What are some tips on starting a breeding program? Well, one, Number one, you better get working your dogs, buddy. You want to breed working dogs? You better start working them. Work them, train them, understand what makes them tick, get in front of them, do some bite work with them, understand what makes a good dog and what doesn't, and then I think you'll have a bit of a better idea. There's so many people, they don't work their dogs, they're not decoys, and they're breeding these dogs, and you see the example of that. Okay. Silly Pup. Silly Pup, are you in my elite course? Tell me, remind me, because I can't remember. I see you comment a lot, and I appreciate that. Oh my God. I'm actually... Oh my God. Sorry, guys. I read a text. This depressing stuff. A dog I sold to somebody. A dog I sold to somebody, I believe, was attacked. And it sounds like she's in really bad medical shape. She was attacked by another dog. Man, people got to be careful. People got to be careful, It's one of those things where it's like, so sad to see this type of stuff, Yes, and, it's like a lot of the times when other dogs are attacked by another dog, I've had dogs for many years. I've had my dogs in many places, and I can tell you many, many instances in which I've run into off-leash dogs and maybe things got a little bit hairy, but we didn't have, anybody was injured. And that's because you protect your dog and you don't set your dogs up to fail, guys, because these types of things happen. Then everybody's kind of left with, this is, how could this happen? And it's like, well, it happens because we set the dogs up to fail. We put the dogs in dangerous positions. And then we wonder why things go south. But it's another topic altogether. Do you go to college to be a dog protection? I assume you mean a decoy. No, you don't. You get in front of a lot of dogs and you study and you seek the information. There's no one person that's going to give you the information. You seek the information. Greetings from Germany. Greetings, my friend. Let's see here. Yeah, e-collars, e-collar technologies or Dogtra. Ad has, carry a Glock. John, I live in Canada. You most certainly cannot carry a Glock unless you are in a gang and you get one off the books. Let's see here. Any advice on stopping a dog to dog redirection after one of them receives a correction? If you know that your dog's redirecting, again, don't set your dogs up to fail. Don't put them next to another dog. You have to be careful with what you're doing, right? You must maybe look at another form of correcting. Christina, have you been watching the WSV this year? I think I watched some. I didn't watch all of them. This year, I feel like the WUSV wasn't 100% because I think a lot of competitors didn't compete. A lot of competitors, I think, maybe held back this year. So I think you're going to see a much stronger field on the next year. Same thing, like even nationals this year, right? In Canada, it was not, there's a lot of people didn't show up for that. I think this year's nationals are going to be much more competitive. And I'm ready. I want to get to nationals this year. So if all goes well, we'll be there. Okay. USA is the best. Well, John, I hope it stays that way. It's not looking good. If my dog is off-leash, another off-leash dog who is smaller but aggressive comes by and chases my German Shepherd, should I kick the other dog? Yeah, absolutely. If you're in the position... Listen, I've definitely put my boots to another dog that was going and attacking my dog, right? For sure, I've done that. It's one of those things where, I'm responsible for my dog's safety, not anybody else. And if I have to apply my boots to another dog to keep my dog safe, I will happily do that. You know, that being said, if I put my dog in a position where, let's say I went to a leash-free park and, you know, my dog is attacked in a leash-free park, or my dog's getting into scuffles in a leash-free park, well, now I can't particularly complain, can I? Because that's what I signed up for. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up now. We've been going for a while. I think I've figured out this live stream thing, except for this upside down chat. We're going to have to fix that next time. But that being said, I'm happy with this. This worked quite well. So now I think we'll be able to upgrade the quality of our streams. I'll try to make sure the picture's a little bit nicer next time. Let's see here. Currently week 2 on the off-leash program. Am I able to do the reactive program at the same time? Or should I do one before the other? You do them concurrently. Do them together. They work very well together. All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate your time and your feedback, helping me figure out this this technology and improving the quality of information that we are imparting. I know a lot of people in the elite course are going to be mad because I didn't put out an email blast to everybody, but this was more of like a test. So the next one, for sure, I'm going to let you all know, or those of you that are in my elite program, I'm going to let everybody know about it ahead of time. Yeah, thank you guys. Good night. Oh, Merry Christmas. If I don't see you guys, which I probably won't see you guys before Christmas. So Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Y'all have a good night.